Ah, you weren't sure I was going to be here, huh? Neither was I. Hi, I'm Mr. Moohead. I'm a cow, and I'm a cow with a purpose, which is better than a cow with a porpoise. That would be like surf and turf. How is everybody today? I'm suffering, but I'm doing
Yes, we're
this.
strictly manatees only.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing the best I can with what I got. So, uh, Brian's with us, and Tony the calf is with us, and today we're talking Browns, as I promised that we would. But I want to really start with something which is really an interesting thing that I've said that I've taken a little heat for. And I'll repeat what I said. The Browns are a good football team, but they're not a very good football team. And to win a Super Bowl, you need to be a great team. Right? That was the thrust. And that was an exact quote. All right. And some people are saying, what do you mean just good team? I think we were very good. We were 11-5. And it's like,
Technically 12-5, but yeah.
Yeah. Why does my aggravated fan sound like Rodney Dangerfield? Oh, we're a
No
good team.
respect.
Oh,
No respect.
no respect at all. Um, but here's why I believe, and it's all an upside, and it's why if you go back in time. I mean, let's forget about what happened in 2020. We look at what happened in 2019 and how the organization was screwed up. And then Stefanski was hired. And what we talked about on the show all during that time, and a lot of fans were really like, God, I mean, are we going to be sucking worse because we're getting another new system in? Well, how is that going to work? And well, it turned out really well. But we did not have one side of the ball. The fact that we completed our regular season at 11-5 and got into the playoffs, I really think the Cleveland Browns were a 9-7 football team. And you're going to go, oh, don't even go here, Mr. Moohead. But I'm saying statistically, it would have been just as easy for them to have been a 9-7 team than an 11-5 team.
Especially with the fourth quarter defensive collapses.
Yeah, I mean, here's some statistics that would be of interest to people who might be taking exception to my point of view here. The Browns were 21st in the NFL in points allowed last season. They allowed 26.2 points per game. That was worse than the 2019 season when they allowed 24.6 points per game. Among the 14 playoff teams in 2020, the Browns were 13th in points allowed. Only the Titans surrendered more points per game than the Browns. But here is the reason I say this really was a 9-7 team. You could even make an argument for an 8-8 team, but I'm not going to go that far. The Browns had a winning record in games that they gave up 30 or more points. Stop and think about that. They were 4-3 in those games, and 3 of them against the Cowboys, the Titans, and Bengals were arguably 3 of the best wins of the season in excitement-wise. You give up more than 30 points in a game, you're not going to go 4-3 every year. Okay?
Right.
If you're giving up that many points against the Bengals, the Titans, and the Cowboys, then I'd say, boy, if you have a slightly tougher schedule, you're going to have a problem. Those 7 games could have just as easily been 2-5 than 4-3 and would drop you to a 9-7 record, and you wouldn't even be making the playoffs.
Yeah, fuck, they almost lost that Titans game.
That's right. I mean, it was, everything fell into place, and I'm grateful that it did. I think that that's a wonderful thing, but we have to be realistic about this. You're not going to do that again this year, all right? And much as far as the Browns in the offseason, they've addressed, a number of these problems, which is really good. The thing is that I'm looking at for this upcoming season, Stefanski came in as an offensive coordinator, becoming a head coach. So we figured anything's better than the rudderless ship that Freddie Kitchens was running. But it turns out that actually what Stefanski installed and ran was very, very good. And he did it with what I would consider to be marginal offensive pieces. With OBJ going down early and having to win with Kaderil Hodge and, Donovan Peoples-Jones and, that ilk and Rashard Higgins, and not really having a frontline number one receiver. Thank God he had a good offensive line, and we didn't know how good Wyatt Teller would become, but with the new blocking scheme and all, some guys are just more suited for something than others. So that got us one step ahead that way, and we became a really good offensive team. Now, Joe Woods was handed nothing to work with, all right? Absolutely nothing. And I certainly understand, when you're dealing with injuries in the secondary and you have to play Sendejo and people like that, it isn't going to work. But there's not going to be an excuse for Joe Woods this year because he has more depth on defense than the team had decent players at all on the entire defensive side of the field. There's more talent in his secondary. It's young talent, but there's more talent in his secondary than there was on the entire defense last year. So my eyes are on Joe Woods because he's got to prove that he can step up like Kevin Stefanski did and turn, a confused offense into a cohesive unit. And that's going to be a trick. It's not going to be easy. So how do you do it? They asked Joe Woods about this, how do you do this? And, he was the first one to bring up the whole argument about points allowed. But the other thing was the uneven turnovers as far as the team had. When they got them, but they went through long patches where they didn't get nothing. And it's because if you're that far off, guys, you're not going to, there ain't no tip drill to run if nobody's deflecting passes, if nobody's tipping passes at the line of scrimmage, if nobody is hitting receivers at the time the ball's arriving and it pops up in the air, you're not going to get interceptions. The Browns tied for 18th in the NFL with 21 turnovers forced, and they were +5 on the season when you factor in the 16 turnovers committed by the offense. That's number 9 in the league. If you're in a plus column, that's really good. Of the teams ranked in the top 12 in turnover margin, only one, that'd be the Dolphins, did not make the playoffs. So turnovers are just huge because it changes field position and it really puts the defense of the other team under repeated stress. The fact is, when they were good, they were very good, but when they were bad, they were really bad. They went through an entire stretch of the season where they just didn't do anything. Yet they turn around right at the end of the year when it looked like it was just death. They come out and they play their game against Pittsburgh, and nothing but turnover city for the Browns in the game. I mean, that +5 statistic for the season was accomplished basically from the one playoff game. I mean, the Steelers were just turning the ball over left and right. I mean, and I'm not saying that you're going to get a ton of turnovers every time you go out in the field, but there has to be closer attention being paid to the receivers. And, as far as you got to hit a guy and hold him up so somebody can strip him. You can't allow yards after catch. You got to make people pay for real estate. That's the way it works. So turnovers for the Browns, sometimes it's lucky, but on the other hand, sometimes it's just plain aggression. The third thing Joe Wood said is what I'm screaming about all the time. By the way, is my volume all right, guys?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, good. Get off the field. And, this has been a problem with the Browns defense. Is that even when they do get holds, it's after like 4 first downs and we're just trapped way down deep in our own territory. And we're always starting from inside the 10 or 15 yard line. And the ability to score 85 and 90 yard touchdown drives is really difficult in the NFL.
Although Nick Chubb has done it several times.
Say what?
By himself. Although Nick Chubb has done it by himself several times.
Yeah. One play can break it open. The Browns were 23rd in the NFL last year when they allowed teams to convert third downs 43.9% of the time. I mean, that's just, but it was worse on fourth downs. Teams were regularly going for it against the Browns because the statistics showed that the Browns couldn't stop anybody. Don't tell the Steelers that in the postseason, but they couldn't stop anybody on fourth downs. The Browns allowed opponents to convert 81% of their opportunities on fourth down. That was 31st in the league. That's incredible. The Browns were better in the red zone, where they ranked 14th in the NFL, by allowing TDs a little more than 60% of the time the opponent crossed the 20-yard line. Cleveland was tied for 9th in the league in stopping touchdowns when the opponent faced a goal-to-go situation. Right? So they did tighten up some of the bolts a little bit. But realistically, teams, if they're going to come after the Browns on fourth down, you got to get stops. You got to stuff things. And it all starts in one place. And it's funny how things change over the course of time. The AFC North was always the ground and pound division. And we were the only team that didn't ground and pound. we were playing, washed up running backs and God knows what else. And we had absolutely no running game. And the Steelers were the Steelers, and the Ravens were the Ravens, and even the Bengals, when they were, 9-7 with, Dalton all the time, they still had runners who were just running through us, and they were running for consistently over 120 yards against the Browns. This is no longer a ground and pound NFL. There are some teams, like play the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, you have a guy like Henry running the football. You got to stop him. I mean, and there's going to be some backs that are like that. But by and large, you have to start the process of getting stops and getting off the field by stopping the passing game. And there's only a couple of ways to do it. That's tightening up your coverage and putting pressure on the quarterback. The Browns are way better in the defensive secondary than they were last year. I'm hoping as they go through the season, they're going to get better, and they're going to have better coverage in their zone deployment. They're going to have smarter drops by their linebackers or safeties, and they're going to have a whole host of people who they can move in and out defensively, and a real honest-to-God dime configuration that will probably get better as the season goes on when people really get healthy. If a guy like Delpit gets healthy, what he could do alone in a dime scheme could be really significant for the Cleveland Browns. So right off the bat, you stop the forward pass, because with our offense, we have the ability to pretty well score from anywhere on the field. And I have a feeling that somebody was talking in the chat last time about Kaderil Hodge, the question of whether he's really on the bubble of making this team. And I'm beginning to think there might be truth to that. How many big-bodied guys are you going to need? And do you need somebody who is able to break something down the field?
Well, and they're going to need to compensate for maybe linebackers that are healthy or defensive backs that they're waiting to get healthy or whatever. There was talk of maybe even keeping Phillips, who wasn't that the guy that ripped up his bicep tendon?
Yeah, Jacob Phillips. Yeah,
he's not on the he's not on the injured reserve yet. And the other thing that I would add is the biggest thing with the 2021 defense versus 2020, the team speed is just so much fucking better.
Well, and that's the thing
every
about
level.
If you're playing wide receivers, you have Kaderil Hodge out there, and you have Rashard Higgins, and you have Jarvis Landry. You don't have speed. Now, OBJ is being nursed along. I mean, it's going to be really interesting what happens to OBJ when the season starts out. How many snaps?
Is there a shot he goes on the PUP list?
Say what?
Is there a shot he might go on the PUP list?
OBJ, no, but they're really treating him with kid gloves. And
ACL injuries and wide receivers, you gotta.
If the past is prologue, then he's going to get hurt at some point during the course of the year. At least soft tissue injuries, he's going to miss some games. You don't have an apt replacement for him. And it's one of the reasons why, when I see, and I feel terrible for Davion Davis because of this 2 years after committing a DUI, the league waiting for him to find employment with another team and then socking it to him. I think that's really a low blow.
Yeah, that is such a fucking chicken shit move by the league office. Like, Jesus Christ.
I don't get it. I mean,
it should have been. I know, like I tweeted you, Mark. He went to court he finally went to court in December of this last year because everything got backed up with courts with COVID and whatnot. But yeah, that suspension should have been handed down right away.
Again, this is a guy who's trying to make a roster, and that's no way to treat somebody who's, and this is a guy who I have a feeling could really help the Browns. And he's not going to crack the top guys. He's not going to, but.
Nope, they might put him on the practice squad now and then watch him get pilfered by some other team.
In every game that he has played in so far, and he's going to play again on Sunday, he has beaten his man down the field. He has out-contested his man for the ball. He's come back to the quarterback, and he's beaten people deep, even though the quarterback, Laletta, didn't throw the ball to him when he was literally 5 yards behind the defensive secondary. So, again, the Browns can score points by pounding, all right? And the Browns can score by moving the ball methodically down the field, partially with running backs, tight ends, and possession receivers. But that big play becomes very, very important to this team. And if I have a sixth wide receiver, I got to tell you, Kadarrell Hodge is, what I was saying last year is, oh God, how are we going to win with Kadarrell Hodge and Donovan Peoples-Jones? And for Derek Frisbee, loved DPJ. Loved him. And it's like, I don't know, his college bio didn't make him appear to be anything totally special, but his work ethic is unbelievable.
But the Michigan football program is basically run like the 2019 Browns.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's kind of hard to judge how good somebody is playing at Michigan right now. But again,
and it's multiple former players that are saying this shit, that are saying it. Nobody buys in. Nobody gives a damn about the people playing that they're playing next to. They don't care really about anything other than trying to make it to the NFL.
Yeah, and the opportunity for a young player, and maybe Davion Davis is just a flash in the pan. We've seen it before in the preseason, but they've got to give him a good look-see during the course of the final preseason game, because you can't control Kyle Laletta overthrowing him by 5 yards. You can't do that. But if he's beating his man, the rap on Davion Davis, there were two raps, is that he ran a slow 4.6 at his workout day. And the other one was that the critics said that coming out of college, Sam Houston State, he didn't run good patterns. That was the deal. That was the whole rap on him. Well, this guy looks like his pattern running is fairly sharp because he's beating people to the spot. He doesn't seem to be having any trouble releasing from the line of scrimmage. And maybe he can't when the regular season gets started, when the game starts speeding up. Maybe it'll be different for him. And he's not a big man, and he's not a big body. But right now, I mean, I saw we got Kyle Markway back, the tight end from our practice squad from last year, which makes sense because, he ain't going to play. We got 3 tight ends. But again, the likelihood is that Njoku will be injured within about, 25 minutes of the game starting. And we're going to carry, and actually, I should say, we're going to play 3 tight ends during the course of the season. We are going to have 2 tight ends on the field at one time, like we did last year on many occasions. And they're going to control the number of snaps to get the most out of the Austin Hoopers, the Njokus, and the Harrison Bryants. So we can score that way. I just want to see just an opportunity to, to stretch the field a little bit. And we don't have, and then Anthony Schwartz was back in practice. And I know that will be the argument against Davion Davis. And the Browns seem to always opt for the bigger body receiver. And Kaderil Hodge does have seniority, having played for the Browns already. But Anthony Schwartz, again, they're hoping to install a small package of plays for Anthony Schwartz. And he has a history, according to critics, that he can't run patterns worth diddly. And they're saying how much he's worked on that. I don't know how he's worked on it. He's had a pulled hamstring since Hector was a pup. So I don't know.
Oh, you haven't been watching the walking videos, have you?
No. What?
There's on YouTube. There's been on Twitter. They've been posting these videos of guys running walking patterns and trying to beat the other guy covering them, who is also walking.
Yeah,
locker rooms and all kinds of stuff.
I have a hunch you're going to see Schwartz on the inactive list for most of the season.
Right now, I mean, it's at 4.25 speed, but I mean, you say, I don't know, you're not going to beat people just running in a straight line. If they see you in the game coming onto the field, they're going to just cover you, for the fly. I mean,
it doesn't matter if you can beat them down the field if you can't catch the fucking ball.
There's all kinds of issues involved with Anthony Schwartz that nobody knows the answers to, and sometimes a guy who's been in camp, been on a roster, and is hungry. A guy like Davion Davis can actually contribute more in the short run than a guy like Anthony Schwartz, who's a draft pick, who's third round pick, who's going to be obviously favored because of his. Nobody likes to look like a schmuck in the draft. That you picked the wrong guy. Nobody wants to look that way.
I was shocked they got rid of that Austin Hollins. I thought he was a pretty good, possession receiver.
Yeah, it's to me. Again, whether somebody's a flash in the pan or not, you got to find out in the preseason as best you can.
Yeah.
Number 2 flash in the pan guy. I mean, I'm hearing way too much about Malik McDowell. Way too fucking much. And here's a guy who hadn't played in an organized football game in 5 fucking years. Okay? And he played for Michigan State, folks, and he was a second round pick. That in and of itself does not exactly make me feel like, oh, this guy was a star in waiting. What he was a criminal in waiting. And he blew himself out of football with his own behavior. And then injuries took over after that. So he comes in the second half, in the third and fourth quarters, and literally rips the shreds out of a totally demoralized third and fourth unit guys who are going to be cut. And now everyone's singing his praises. Oh, he's explosive off the line. The Browns do not yet have a world-class defensive front line. And we're still trying to figure out if Jadeveon Clowney is just a flash in the pan that looks good in the preseason, but when he gets out on the field is going to be positively mediocre, or if he's just going to hurt himself again in another way. So, the Malik McDowell thing, I never get real excited about this type of thing because, we talked about this a number of months ago about that big offensive lineman who the Browns got out of this nowhere school, and how they thought big things were going to happen and nothing ever happened to him. We looked him up, and he never played football again. And he was a small college guy, and not a Michigan State guy. But again, a second-round draft pick, defensive lineman, somebody thought highly of him, yeah. And again, he's got quickness and some athleticism, absolutely. But whether it translates into full speed or not, I really don't know. And I'm really against this flash-in-the-pan media hype of a few guys, and then they'll come out in the next game and look like dog shit, And they did that to Koromoa in a way. They set him up. I mean, that first game is like, well, yeah, I mean, you put him into the right situation against a team that is just absolutely clueless. The Jacksonville Jaguars wouldn't know which way was up. And of course, he's going to look good there. You put him in against the Giants, and the Giants are better than the Jaguars, but they're not very good. But he didn't show up as well. And we need consistency, and I'm not going to judge players predicated on what happens in the preseason. This is not a hype program for players, and this is not a fanboy podcast. This is reality, folks. And if you're expecting something amazing from Malik McDowell, you might be very, very disappointed, because it's not easy to be in the trenches as a defensive tackle in the National Football League. It's not easy. So
Right.
that's right.
How much do you think Baker plays Sunday night? Because Stefanski did come out and say he's playing.
3 series max, 1 quarter max.
Yeah, I'd say probably just the first quarter.
And, I think that they will be running plain vanilla. And what you might see is a wide range of wide receivers working with Baker, because we don't know exactly who Baker's been throwing to in practice. And, we had no idea about Rashard Higgins and the confidence that was built between those two guys and the chemistry. Does he have any chemistry with Davion Davis, or has he ever even thrown a fucking ball to him? We really don't know. We're going to see a wide range of wide receivers, because we're not going to see OBJ out there.
He has thrown a pass to Natson. That's on tape.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see about that. I mean, I you never know who's throwing to whom. And but with Higgins, he established a rapport before he was the man in Cleveland, and that kind of thing kind of builds up. We don't know whether that's true with other wide receivers on this year's present roster. So no more. I mean, I can't see if he gets his work done in 2 series. For example, if they move down the field, score a touchdown, and then the next time they go three and out, then he'll have a third try, and they'll probably try to run a 2-minute offense too. I would not be surprised if this is all just situational to work on specific things. That's very Stefanski-esque thinking. So, and we'll see what happens. But you're not going to see OBJ running around wild out there, and you're not going to see Anthony Schwartz out there running wild. These are people who are, overcoming surgeries or soft tissue injuries. There's no reason to do that. So Baker may be throwing to a group of guys who are, who knows?
Yeah, they'll probably be bubble guys.
Exactly. I mean, this is an opportunity to make the team. You're gonna, if you're
so you'll probably see a lot of Natson, and you'll see Davis and some of these other guys.
Yeah, I just don't see Natson.
And I can definitely see Lauletta playing the entire second half.
Yeah, there's no reason to play Case Keenum.
And then that's going to be his only action, unless he gets picked up by another team like the other guy did.
Yeah,
Garrett.
well, nobody's going to offer Kyle Lauletta anything big, because they didn't last year, they won't this year. Bronk is saying, Felton greater than Natson. Natson, I just don't see. And Amsterdam agrees. I don't see that player as being fast enough or explosive enough, athletic enough, and on the punt returns and all that. I just don't see anything in JoJo Natson that is NFL caliber. I don't see that. Demetric Felton, on the other hand, I do want to see him, but I really want to see him more in a receiving situation than in a running back situation. But because that's where he's going to impact the team most in the beginning, because he's not going to be getting the ball handed to him very much, if at all.
You think they go with 4 running backs?
Here's what I think they're going to do. the signing of Kyle Markway it kind of surprised me in one regard, because I was wondering if the guy they would carry forward would be Stanton, the young player who they have playing at tight end, but also as a fullback. And because we know Stefanski loves fullbacks, he just loves that. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and he needs to fill up. That would be the guy to fill up Carlson's role on special teams.
And that's the other thing, that some of the players, we don't know what their skill level is as far as special teams. Nobody writes about that. That's not glamorous. So that will make a huge, the thing about Stanton is
I told him to suck up to Prefer on Twitter.
What I am hearing about Stanton, that he's very willing to be as versatile as he has to be. And that's what it takes. And it takes to be on the suicide squad. And if you're play fullback and tight end, and if you prove that you're learning the stuff really well and that you're applying it, that gives you such a better chance of making a roster, even if it doesn't mean you're hitting the field at all. But, Demetric Felton is a guy who is really, if he's going to make any impact on the Cleveland Browns, it's going to happen initially through the forward pass. And, I don't see Felton as being fast. He's kind of shifty. And so he's not, again, the guy we were comparing him to was the guy who used to play for the Browns, Duke Johnson, who wasn't flat out fast, but he made the first guy miss. That's Demetric Felton. So that's the kind of player you're looking at. But I don't mind having a guy out on the field who, on a third down situation, can beat a linebacker and has a good pair of hands. Won't turn that down.
Well, and I think he would have a better chance of making the team if the team didn't have Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, but again, if you're
so he'll probably end up being on the practice squad.
Yeah, unless somebody else gets him. I mean, they already have Janovich.
I don't think they'll outright cut Demetric Felton.
I'm assuming Janovich is safe. They're not going to get rid of him.
Yeah, have you seen much of him though?
No.
Yeah, you were 31.
Granted, I haven't really paid attention to the Browns much this offseason.
No,
I've paid attention to football.
So in the Jacksonville game, he caught a couple of passes, and he caught a pass against the Giants. So, but he's been playing mainly with Keenum.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm really looking for on Sunday, and by the way, on Sunday I've decided no halftime, no postgame show. This back of mine, I deserve just to be able to lay down and
Isn't
relax.
the game at 8:00 at night too on a fucking Sunday?
I know. I don't know what they're thinking. The scheduling is bizarre to say the least. And
why don't they just have all preseason games on one fucking night? You know what I mean?
Well, some tonight, some tomorrow, some Sunday,
and then there's a Monday night game, and it's like, this isn't the regular season.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and wait, and then I want to stretch out and I want to relax. I want to take in the game, and then we'll talk about it the next day. That's good enough for me.
Right.
So I do really want to see how Greg Newsome plays. I really want to get an idea of some of the way the first string secondary plays, and are they going to get reps? Have we heard that?
I thought I saw Stefanski said
probably everyone who is not really dinged up will get a chance to play some.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see some of what we got as far as all on the field together and in concert, just for a short period of time. I don't want to see anybody out there long. I just, but I want to see these young guys. I want to see what they do. I mean, I think we know what Johnson III can do. I think we know, what the veteran guys can do. But I think it's important because in the beginning of the game, that the Falcons are going to play some of their They're ones. And
and in a nice gesture, OBJ gave Richard LeCount a new pair of cleats, one of his
well, isn't that
signature.
nice?
So let's see him break in his new pair of shoes.
Yeah. I'd like to see, Greedy Williams back there. I want to see, I just want to see a good nickel package, and I'd like to see an early dime package, although you won't see Delpit in it, but you will later if he stays healthy. And I think that's real significant.
What is the verdict on that Greedy Williams injury from last week? Is it just a strain or what?
Yeah, and it's when has dogged him. And the only concern I have about Greedy Williams is that when he did play and wasn't injured, he wasn't very good. And neither was the whole defense, neither was the coaching scheme, neither was, all kinds of things were wrong with the secondary under Freddie Kitchens. And it didn't get any better afterwards. Players just need time. And it's really, when you're a cornerback in the NFL, you're out there on an island, and it's really very tough. That's all I'll say. I'm not sold on Greedy Williams because I've never seen him. The thing I always used to say is, when they were talking about like Denzel Ward, and they say, well, he didn't look fantastic last year. Nobody did. But what I can tell you is you didn't see him getting whipped like a government mule out there either. I mean, and by the way, I was thrilled at Robert Jackson,
Well, in the play that Denzel Ward got injured on, he outleaped the tight end for Cincinnati to get an interception, and that sealed the game.
Right. I mean, there's every reason to believe, I remember when Hanford Dixon was a rookie, and it was like, well, it's not interception city, but it was like, he didn't embarrass himself. And I've seen so many young rookie cornerbacks just get picked on, man. Just to get picked on. And when a guy like Denzel Ward plays and he's not getting picked on, there's a big leap between year 1, year 2, year 3 of being in the league. He keeps getting better. He's going to be a really solid football player. We'll see what Newsome looks like in year 1. And if he's not embarrassing himself and not, being picked on, that's going to tell you something. And but there was always somebody to pick on last year. And hopefully we have some of that tightened up. One of the final things I wanted to talk about, two things. One is the kicker situation with the Browns. Chase McLaughlin has the job, kinda, but they're not expressing utmost confidence in him, which means you cue the Final Jeopardy music.
Don't miss any kicks tomorrow night, big boy. That's all.
Waiver wire time, man.
Yep.
And you're going to be waiting to see if somebody who has credentials, finds their way onto this roster instead of Chase McLaughlin. And it's too bad because Chase McLaughlin's having a good preseason, but you don't ever know until the season begins and the pressure is on. And if there is a kicker who is somewhat of a veteran who has proven his mettle in live game action, as far
as let's hope he doesn't turn into Sarah at any point this season.
Yeah, there's pressure when you have expectations. When you're an 11-5 team and you have expectations, there's going to be opportunities to win and lose games with your kicking game, and that's. What the other thing that's really interesting is I watch, watching Gillum kick the ball, and he looked so much more explosive when I first saw him, but he's kicking the punt's 51, 52 yards, and it's like, well, I can't complain about what he's doing at all. Yeah. But when he first came out, it was like the ball exploded off his foot. Now, maybe it's just that he's kind of smoothed up his delivery a little bit, because before he was just like dropping, coming out of a cannon. But he's done a good job. He's punted well in the preseason. So,
well, and part of that is also being more of a directional punter, trying to going for angles and flop shots and things like that. So
Kind of help.
there's
Kind
a
of helps.
couple of different reasons for that.
Kind of helps when you have a semi-resting season. He only punted the ball 51 times last year. It's like
That's
24th in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's huge. I mean, and it's the same thing with field goal kickers. If you're desperate to score 3 points and you're trying them from 52 yards out, that's and you're not going to get chippies either because team's going to go for 4th and 2. Stefanski will go for it on 4th and 2 with his offense. So
Yep.
kickers, are a commodity that you don't think of until Cody Parkey shanks one in a postseason game, and the Chicago people want to kill him. That's when that's where the kicker makes his name. Is the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl? What was his name?
Oh, it's not Scott Norwood.
Scotty Norwood. Oh yeah. I mean, you have to live the rest of your life. That one kick defines your career, and he was a very fine kicker in the NFL.
Yep.
And the other thing that's interesting that I wanted to point out is that the Browns, they always said Browns haven't had a field goal kicker since Phil Dawson. Do you know that when the Browns signed Phil Dawson and put him on the team, he had been cut 3 times from 3 different camps, 3 different teams? Fact.
Yeah.
So you can find value kickers, off the waiver wire.
In the heyday of the NFL, teams kept their kickers 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
They didn't change. Chris Barr was a fucking rarity that he changed teams.
Yeah.
And along with Matt Barr.
Right. I mean,
Nick Lowry was with the fucking Chiefs for like 18 years. Eddie Murray was with the Lions for like 14 years, 13 years. So
yeah. And
now they get cut after a game.
Yeah. It's a tough position to have a long career in, but I guess the point is you can find people on the waiver wire, and Chase McLaughlin's job is not safe by any stretch of the imagination. The final thing I wanted to mention, in their evolving quest to find more future ineptitude, the Cleveland Cavaliers have partaken in a 3-way deal with the Bulls and the Portland Trailblazers. Say goodbye to Larry Nance Jr. Larry Nance Jr. is going to Portland in the trade. And to be honest, everything that I've heard about Larry Nance Jr. is that he's a wonderful guy. All right. A real good guy. He's a hard worker.
Cleveland born and raised. Yeah.
Yep. And just a good guy. But the problem is that what was being asked of him, his body wasn't able to tackle. He's not that big a guy. He can jump, but he's not big enough. He get pushed around and get injured. And he was injured all the time with the Cavaliers. And he is kind of a guy who comes off the bench and he's a jack of all trades. He's a defensive player. He's a steal waiting to happen, a deflection steal waiting to happen. He can get up and he can slam dunk the ball. He's not a real good perimeter shooter at all, but he is a good teammate. And I think he tried to be a good teammate in Cleveland, but it's very frustrating when you're playing with Colin Sexton and the Me Too generation. It's very difficult to get the idea of team together with young players. For the Cavaliers' part, they basically got rid of Larry Nance Jr. and the way the deal structured itself, the Cavaliers getting rid of Larry Nance Jr. Along with a 2023 second-round draft pick via the Denver Nuggets to Chicago. All right, it's kind of a tricky deal, and the Cavaliers pick up Laurie Markkanen. Now we've watched Laurie Markkanen play. The thing I don't understand about this deal is there's a thing that's scaring me. It's like you go from being, hey, Isaac Okoro, we want you to guard a 4. And it's like, he couldn't guard a 3 because he's not big and strong enough.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, we got a point guard and Darius Garland and Colin Sexton. We got these mini midgets playing on the floor, and we give up more 3 points because we can't close on 3-point shots. When defensively they're getting muscled, they're isolating our small guys, and the Cavaliers were clearly an undersized basketball team. And the one thing they had to start out the season, Andre Drummond was just slowing them down because he was a black hole and he would never pass the ball out of doubles. So what you wind up with here is Laurie Markkanen, which is all well and good. Laurie Markkanen a couple of years ago averaged 18.7 points per game. Last year, about 13.5 points per game. Yep. He's a solid 3-point shooter, about 40% 3-point shooter, and he's 7 foot tall. But what I don't understand about this trade is stop and think what you have. You just drafted in the draft the overall number 3 pick, who's a 7 foot guy you're going to play as a wing.
Yeah, mobile.
Right? You just re-signed a 6'11" center, Jared Allen, who is a little light in the britches as far as, he's got to put on some muscle. And now you're getting another 7 foot forward. I mean, it's like, why can't we have a fucking balance in Cleveland? What is the 7 foot fetish now? I don't see how these.
But they're all looking for the fucking unicorn guy.
Giannis.
No. The asshole that went from the Knicks down to Dallas.
Oh, Luka Doncic.
No. He was drafted by them.
Porzingis, for fuck's sake.
Porzingis.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
they're all looking for that guy. Or
that guy has pelican legs and he gets fucking injured all the time. I don't,
Or they're looking for Tony Kukoc, the 6'10" that can play at all 5 positions.
Laurie Markkanen, a good gust of wind will blow over. I wouldn't put power next to his name on anything. He is, you know what he is? What you're really looking for is Dirk Nowitzki. That's what you're really looking for. A 7 foot guy who has incredibly a fantastic fadeaway shot. The problem with Laurie Markkanen is that he's a guy who really requires ball movement to get him the ball behind the arc. And I have not seen any demonstration in the times that we've played against him and the times that I've seen him play that he can back somebody down like Dirk did and hit that fade. And that's like the most important thing that you can get from a power forward who's a 7 foot guy, is not just, to stand behind the arc and be a perimeter guy. What the fuck is that? Your 7 feet never get used. Yeah, so, and the other thing is, Markkanen has been hurt in 20 or more games than the last 3 seasons per season.
They must have a belief that if they get a younger version of Kevin Love, their offense is going to gel, and I don't see it at all. Well, one would assume Kevin Love is out the door. I mean,
Kevin Love was a guy who came in the league much bigger, and he was a position guy who knew how to rebound, outlet pass. He had all kinds of different.
He developed his 3-point shot. He didn't. Yeah.
He had a high basketball IQ. He used the backboard real well. He had that that bank shot from the elbow. Lots of things that he had. Laurie Markkanen is the string bean, and this doesn't work in the NBA. If you take a look at the difference between Giannis in year 1 and what you see now, is the amount of muscle he's put on. You got to be strong to make it in this league. And Markkanen's 24 years old, and I just wonder where the balance is in all of this. And if you got rid of Larry Nance and a 2023 pick, second round pick, basically what you're doing, Laurie Markkanen is a guy who's going to come off the bench. He's not a guy who's going to start. Your number 3 pick had better start, your first round pick. And I don't know, but it's just more mediocrity. The Cavaliers are not relevant. So,
yeah.
All right, I'm done. I want to get out of here a little early so I can give my back a rest and I can just kind of chill.
Quick message. Key wanted me to tell you that this will be the last Friday show she can make. Her class time doesn't end until right at the beginning of the show. So
Well, we'll miss you, but stay with us for gosh sakes. I
oh
mean,
yeah, she'll watch all the replays and
and if she watches
comment.
the games, for God's sakes, you know. And I did want to point out, Bronk, you asked me to show this black piece of vinyl, and musicians are fucking dropping dead. All right? This happened before. I show this guy. He does not, I mean, this is not like an accurate guy. He's scattershot. Okay? He will get actors. He'll get actresses. He'll get, and he loves musicians to get killed. This is, you asked me to do
anyone
it.
that's not actually in office, apparently.
Yeah. Please let me introduce myself. You know, I don't want to see Charlie Watts dead, and there's a bunch of others who just croaked. What country singers just died? A whole bunch of them. And second I show him, and it happens with actors too.
Joe Diffie just died.
No, Diffie's been dead of COVID for a long time. I'm just trying to think of it. There was somebody who just passed away recently. There were like 3 musicians in a short period of time.
Biz Markie, goddammit.
Yeah, Biz Markie, Bronk, why don't you list the names of the dead musicians? You're the one who caused this ruckus. So the least you can do is help out. Yeah, I'm not showing that black piece of vinyl. This is what I'm showing.
And Brock, you better hope we don't have President Kamala.
You're afraid. You're afraid of so many things, my friend. So many things to be afraid of. You know what I would be afraid of more than anything else? I'm afraid that my back is going to give out completely. And, to hell with Kamala Harris, to hell with all of them. I mean, and I will say on the air what I said to Brian before the show.
Yeah, Dusty Hill was another one that died recently.
Yeah, ZZ Top, yeah.
There was somebody else.
There was a country singer who was a big name country performer who just passed away.
No. There was another rock guy that died at the age of 70, but I can't think of who.
Didn't Henley just die?
Don Henley?
Yeah.
Nobody are talking about. Where are you getting that?
What? Oh, wait. I thought he was.
Glenn Fry is the one that died from the Eagles.
I mean, Don Henley passed on to the Hotel California. Don't tell me that.
That was a dark desert highway.
Cool wind in the air.
His hair.
I think it was actually the bass player for the Eagles was the one that died.
Oh.
Felder?
No, he was the other guitarist.
Don't remember then. All right.
He sang. He was the one that sounded like a girl when he sang. Had the long brown hair. Fuck, I can't think of his name though.
Yeah, I'll probably think of it after the program. I know who you're talking about. All right, I'm finished here. Everybody enjoy the football game this Sunday. No halftime, no post-game show. I'm watching it, and I'm talking about it on Monday, and I will be here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Have yourselves a lovely weekend, and I'll see you again next on Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Hedge.
Don Everly. Don Everly.
Oh, bye-bye, love. Bye-bye,
God damn it, that's what it was. That's
right.
Don Everly, the Everly Brothers.
And Phil has been dead for a long time. Yeah, no Everly Brothers left. Harmony is lacking now.
No, I don't think there's any Smothers Brothers left either.
I don't know. Vicky and Tommy? I think Tommy's still alive for sure. I don't know. At any rate, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Bye.